Fiducia Supplicans. The Church blesses. What? Who? Why? When? How? The upheaval, political, social and religious, occasioned by the new document Fiducia Supplicans is not likely to go away soon. Some thinking Catholics are predicting it will end in schism. Some less rational seem to think the document itself is schismatic. It will pay everyone to keep quiet until they have read the document, read, not skimmed it in order to bolster their own entrenched prejudices. It is also imperative that we come to it with a few clues about the state of affairs in the world and in the Church that have given rise to the document. Some people are saying it's unnecessary, others that it's inferior, as in clumsy, murky, or even unintelligible. Some of a more traditionalist persuasion are taking their cues from their favourite media gurus and talking about sulphur fumes and demonic machinations in the halls of the Vatican, predicting the imminent dissolution of faith and church. Other commentators, presenting as more rational and middle of the road, are caught up in the wars of words. They clearly want to soften the devastated while avoiding their extremism. They do this chiefly by focusing on key problem words like couple, even if it means dubbing the whole document self-contradictory. The first question we should ask then is why the document was issued. Everyone should know about the worldwide push for recognition, even celebration of the homosexual lifestyle as healthy, desirable, and humanly fulfilling. Everyone should know that the Catholic Church is pretty well the last bastion of resistance to the celebration of the gay lifestyle, and in particular of gay marriage. However, there may be plenty of Catholics who do not know anything much about the activities of the infamous synodal way being floated in the Church in Germany. Such people should not weigh in on a discussion of Fiducia Supplicans until they know that things have reached the stage in Germany where many, probably most bishops, in defiance of Catholic teaching and morality, have taken to issuing permissions and the necessary liturgical formalities for the celebration of gay marriages. Obviously, this is a gross abuse, a conscious and public lie about the Catholic Church's stance on homosexuality as a sinful lifestyle, and about the logical impossibility of condoning it, let alone institutionalizing it. This is schism in action. The Holy Father and the DDF have various options in such a situation. They can pound the bishops concerned and dethrone them, which would bring an effective end to their strategies. But would it? There are enough noisy liberals in the Church and outside it who would applaud these ex-pastors for carrying right on, making them heroes in the homosexual cause, and making it harder for the faithful pastors and people of the Church to appear anything other than narrow and bigoted. Schisms are very nasty, hard to eradicate affairs that affect and infect the whole Church and destroy it from within. Father John Harden, S.J., commented at the time when Pope Paul VI finally allowed the option of communion in the hand, that the Pope was faced with a threatened German, French, Belgium schism over that very issue. Another option, which has been taken in the case of this document, is to notify the whole Church as to the perennial and unchangeable laws on marriage and human sexuality, and the consequent impossibility of approving or formalizing irregular or homosexual alliances. The Church goes further in this document and explains the options for the pastoral care of people living in these sinful situations. It allows for blessings to be given to these people when they ask, but specifies that such blessings must be informal, non-ritual, having no hints of a marriage ceremony or of recognition of their union. Basically, we are talking about the kinds of blessings that are and have been distributed by the ministers of the Church since the beginning of Christianity to those who sincerely ask for God's help, regardless of their sexual orientation or state of soul. So what, in a nutshell, is this document doing? It is telling the truth. It is reiterating the perennial teaching on marriage, clarifying for the hierarchy of the Church just what the Church does and does not do, can and cannot do when it comes to caring for people trapped in sinful situations. It is telling the people of God what their position should be in relation to their fellow human beings who are thus trapped. It is taking a merciful approach, as the Church must always do, but clearly setting the boundaries so that mercy does not become indulgence and a mitigation or approval of the evil of sin. There are clearly many agendas filtering through the various takes by Catholics on this document. Those of a liberal persuasion choose to run with the secular media's skewed and stupid wishful thinking, rejoicing with them that at last the Catholic Church has come to its senses and is blessing homosexual marriages, while still having a way to go on the subject. The traditionalist disapproval of Pope Francis and of everything he says and does rather gets in the way of their objective reading of the document, and their disgust is no doubt heightened by the rowdy triumphalism of the liberal element. The document claims to offer a new approach to blessings in the Church. It really doesn't do this, although it makes distinctions that some people may not have recognized hitherto. It describes the various types of blessing. Firstly, it distinguishes between liturgical and therefore rubrical and formal blessings, the type that can't be applied to people living in sinful situations, and informal and spontaneous blessings where the recipients show they are in need of God's mercy and help, or where their state of soul is unknown. The document also talks about ascending blessings, in which people and things are dedicated to God or offered to Him, and where the offering must necessarily be good and pure, and descending blessings, in which God comes down with His grace in mercy and pity on the poor and needy, that is, all of us. We are left in no doubt that it is descending blessings which are involved in the blessing of homosexual couples or those living in other forms of sexual sin. People who are shocked by these elements in the document should think about the millions of situations throughout history where blessings have been given without regard for the spiritual condition of the recipients. Parents bless their wayward children along with the faithful ones. Priests bless crowds in the street or on a pilgrimage, regardless of who is there or what their lifestyle may be. It would be a very pastorally inept priest who would refuse a blessing to a poor street person, drunk or drugged, who staggered up and asked for one. We throw blessings at almost everyone we speak to if we're in the habit. God bless you. The Church tells us in this document that there are a host of situations where a blessing is in order and should be given without cross-examination of the recipient's conscience or motivation. It is simply a case of double standards for the critics of this document to rant against the blessing of a couple living in sin who indicate a desire for God's help. One of the big sticking points of the document, seemingly the greatest, is its use of the word couple to designate the recipients of these descending, informal type blessings. The people for whom this word is the wrong choice and can be actually contradictory to the main point of the document say that this word connotes exclusively a sexual relationship, and that blessing a couple is synonymous with blessing their relationship or their union. The fact that the document quite explicitly says that this blessing of the union is not only wrong but impossible seems to cut no ice with these objectors. They simply claim that the document is self-contradictory, and of course self-contradictory claims are no claims at all. What these interpreters of the document have not taken into account is the simple factor of context. We all know that the word couple is one that is used in an untold number of contexts. Most of us use it as a colloquialism. I've lost a couple of kilos. A couple of kids came to the door selling tickets. There were many couples on the dance floor. If some people have now commandeered that word to fit only the context of sexual connections, most of us have not been informed of the fact. It is not a word with theological, liturgical, or canonical implications. In the context of this document, it must mean two people who come for a blessing as a twosome, but not on their relationship or their union, because the Church says quite clearly in the document that a priest can't give it, and they can't receive it on those terms. So in the context, the word couple in Fiducia Supplicans can't mean what the critics, both liberal and traditionalist, would like it to mean. The Church's meaning is clear. So why muddy the waters? For example, the document says in number 37, the ordained minister should ask that the individuals have peace, health, a spirit of patience, dialogue, and mutual assistance, but also God's light and strength to be able to fulfill His will completely. Isn't that what any of us would pray for any two people in a relationship that was not in accord with God's will? Bishops and priests who are not making themselves champions of either camp in this debate shouldn't find it very hard to comply with its spirit and its specifications. In fact, it will probably make life easier for them, because now they can say confidently yes and no when appropriate. They would know that they are simply not permitted to say yes when the intent of the asker or askers is insincere, political, a set-up, or a trap. When they are able to say yes, they know what kind of blessing they can give in all sincerity. Those who say that priests are going to be compromised are underestimating the pastoral sensitivity of priests and their will to obey the Church. Any priest who can't steer his way through the challenges that may come with this document's principles to guide him will just cave in and commit sacrilege. There may be a concern that this document will spark off a lot of incendiary activism on the part of homosexual persons interested in putting the Catholic Church to the test. We all know about the rainbow sash demonstrations in which Cardinal Pell, as well as other priests and bishops around the world, were set up to give communion to sash-wearing demonstrators. Cardinal Pell did not, of course, come to the party. Perhaps a certain amount of the publicity given to the document in the secular press reflects this kind of challenge. However, there is enough incendiary activity in society already which is not likely to diminish whether or not the Catholic Church says anything on the subject. And this document is certainly not talking about same-sex-oriented people who seek to blackmail the Church, but about those who, as the document states, cry out to Jesus, "Save me." Most priests who are true pastors will have or have had souls to deal with who struggle with homosexuality. The wonderful organisation Courage has been set up to assist such people to live chaste and saintly lives. So regardless of the circulation of Fiducia Supplicans, some will go on pushing for the recognition of same-sex and adulterous unions. Some priests will go on attempting to validate them. Some bishops will go on facilitating the priests in their sacrilegious efforts. But Mother Church will have shown the people of God what is right and wrong. If that effort is superfluous, so is every other moral teaching she has put out. And she has her own wise and kind ways of helping struggling human beings to live within the happiness of God's plan for them.